A little over a year ago, there was no traffic on this road. This road was closed, and there was a Netflix movie being filmed here. I think it was called White Noise. They had a code word for it at the time, but this field in front of you here was all cornfield, and they wanted to get a transition shot of a vehicle or a car coming out of a cornfield onto a secondary road. And I guess everybody in this scene, they were heading to a camp or leaving a camp or something like that. So we had cars from the 80s lined up on this road off to the sides. There were cars on either side, and there were people roaming around with blankets kind of nomadically. That was all part of the scene. They had staged, I don't know, 20, 30 cars in a little area near one of our fields. They brought in tons of equipment, lighting equipment, cranes. They brought in portable restrooms. How did it come about? Well, I guess the location manager was looking for this transition shot. They went to a farm. I don't know if you can see it off in the distance, but it's right over here. And they had chopped their entire crop of corn. You know, there was no corn in the area, except for stuff that we had on our property. The farmer that we lease the ground out to, I don't know if you can see it over here, is a combine. They leased the ground out. They still hadn't harvested their corn. It wasn't quite dried down enough. So I'm gonna just kind of walk down here real quick and I'll show you kind of what they did. They brought in basically a 20-foot piece of culvert. They brought in about 10 ton of stone, and they cut in this area right here, and I'll pop up some other footage. They cut corn about the area for a vehicle to back into. They then saved all the corn that they had cut. They set it off to the side. Actually, they set it off over here on this side of the road. Stacked it up over there. And as they needed to do a shot, they would have the car parked in there. They would stack in several stalks of corn. They had a little tool that would spike holes into the ground. They would stick the stalks in there and basically simulate planted corn. And it was green. It looked fine. It looked like everything else that was standing at the time. So they had all that. That's how they set up the shot. I'll splice in some footage here, but they drove the car out of the cornfield onto the road and took off. And that was it. That's all they did. But man, the logistics that went into that brought in extras. There were people all over this place. There were cameras, there was sound, there were cranes, there were jibs, there were lighting stands, you name it. We had basically 24/7 security for several days. The rumor is that we were supposed to have about 50 or 60 cars, but there's another location maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours from here, and some of the cars had their catalytic converters swiped. So it wasn't, they didn't get all the vehicles here that they were wanting to have here. Would we do it again? You know, I wasn't involved in the actual negotiations. That was my dad's department. And I think they were very well compensated. Plus, we got to keep about 7 tons of gravel they didn't use, and we have an extra culvert to access this field. So that's kind of nice. But I would say they lived up to their word. They were very adamant about people parking in certain spots, and that they didn't park where they weren't supposed to. They coned off areas for us that were off limits to any of the trucks and trailers and that type of thing that would come in. Ashwan was the location manager, and he was very attentive to our needs. Make sure nothing was parked on, make sure people weren't where they weren't supposed to be. So that, all in all, was very good. I wish I could show you right now. I hope you can see, but this road is actual blacktop. Now, most of the road has what they call like a cold paving, where it's put down cold and compacted. It's almost like just tar and pea gravel, number 8 pea gravel, real fine, about the size of peas, except for this spot right here. And the reason is when they made the agreement to come here and film, the road was kind of, it was a farm road. It had potholes in it, needed repair. Well, it had just been paved the weekend between the time that they said they were going to film and the actual filming took place. So when they brought their cranes in, that type of asphalt that the township used, is not conducive to being driven on and having, you know, things moving around on it so soon after being laid. And they tore this road up with their cranes. This whole section right in here, from like down by where they were offloading the cars, which is down, I don't know if you can see the headlights there, is about in that area, all the way up to where I'm standing, was gouged and rutted, and it was torn up pretty good from the cranes and the lighting gear and all that stuff that they had, the sound equipment. I'd say they went above and beyond what they needed to do. I mean, they repaired it better. This is really decent asphalt. It's hot mix. I mean, it compacted, and tractors and trucks and all that kind of stuff don't hurt it at all. So they lived up to that end of the bargain. They repaired it. I don't know as if everybody had the experience we had, but I think we would do it again. I had visions of crops being destroyed and, you know, big loops of cars out through the field trying to, you know, I don't know how they would do it. It never even occurred to me to tear up the corn, plant, you know, replant it or stick it in the ground in front of the vehicle and just keep driving out of the same spot over and over. I just thought they would start and do concentric loops, you know, start out and come back, start out, and, you know, for each shot that they would get further and further out and just destroy more and more crop. But overall, it was a good experience. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. It's a little bit different. They say it was an interesting experience, and I think we would do it again. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, share with your friends. Thanks for watching.